I've always thought if we could somehow just see the germs around us, everyone would be a lot more careful and we'd get sick way less. Unfortunately, that's still not possible, so I did the next best thing by running a day-long experiment in this 3rd grade classroom. I found this powder called Glow Germ, and just like real germs, when it's on your hands, you can't see it. But unlike real germs, if you turn a black light on, it becomes visible. But it transfers to things you've touched, so it provides a really good way to visualize exactly how germs spread. So before the kids arrived, as a control, I went around and noted any pre-existing spots in the room that fluoresced under the black light, and then it was go time. The kids, of course, had no idea what we were doing and that the teacher had been secretly infected with the glowing powder. So she randomly shook the hands of 3 kids, but didn't touch any of the rest. And so with that, they just went about their normal day. At break, I did choose one random student and he agreed to letting me put some of the powder on his hands too. And then 2 hours later at lunchtime, I checked the results. Remember, everything you see here started with just the teacher and one student having a little of that powder on their hands. And because my flashlight can only illuminate one spot at a time, I used Photoshop to better visualize our observations of where germs were left behind, including on the other kids.
Uh-oh, we're pretty hot over here. Oh, right here.
And they were actually pretty diligent about washing their hands. This was the desk of the kid that was infected. And what's crazy is that germs could live on a hard surface like this for up to 9 days. And so you can see how important it is to disinfect the things a sick person regularly touches. For example, this was the phone of the teacher in the experiment. Even if you wash your hands really often, if you immediately pull out your phone, a lot of those germs just go right back on your hands. Think about when the last time was that you cleaned your phone. My friend Joanne at the Wall Street Journal recently demonstrated you can clean your phone with an antibacterial wipe every day for at least a year, and it doesn't affect the oleophobic coating at all. And this hopefully gives you a better mental model of why it's really important to wash your hands or use hand sanitizer after being at places like this, or this, or this, or this. Cleaning commonly touched surfaces is important because even if a virus is spread through airborne transmission, those tiny droplets don't stay in the air for long. Then they land on surfaces waiting to be touched by our hands. Which raises an important point. The ultimate defense against catching a virus is just don't touch your face. Your eyes, nose, and mouth are like the single weak spot on the Death Star when it comes to viruses. That's the only way they can get in to infect you. But as you can see here, not touching your face is easier said than done. And before you think, yeah, well that's just kids for you, this was what the teacher's face looked like at the end of the day, and she said she tried extra hard to remember not to touch her face. I found this result fascinating, so I put the powder on my own hands for a few hours, and I resisted the urge to touch my face so many times that I fully expected I was going to have a perfectly clean face and the moral high ground. And then this is what I saw. What the heck? I genuinely have no idea when any of this came on. Until I reviewed the footage. Oh, well, there you go. On average, we touch our face 16 times an hour, which is why washing hands is so important. It's impossible to catch a virus directly through your hands. It's as futile as shooting the outer surface of the Death Star. The problem is we use our hands to help the virus out by constantly giving it a ride to our figurative Death Star exhaust ports. Because of this, I ran another experiment with some of the kids after lunch. First, I had them put some lotion on their hands that also glows under a black light. But then I told them I made a mistake and used the wrong lotion. Can you guys just go wash your hands real quick? And do a good washing, right?
1 second.
Yeah, do the right washing, okay? I just tricked you guys again. Because what I really wanted to do is test how good you are at washing your hands. So guess what I'm gonna do now? Show me your hands. But before I show you how effective they actually were at washing their hands, here's what you should quickly know about viruses. They're super tiny, but also the most abundant biological entity on the planet. In fact, there's over 10 million viruses in any single drop of seawater. And a lot of types of viruses are beneficial to the planet's ecosystem, and only an insanely tiny percentage affect humans at all. And they're really simple. Viruses are basically a shell with some DNA inside, and they just want to spread and duplicate. That's their only goal. But they're so simple simple that they need a host to do that. So they reproduce by infecting their host cells and then trick them to become factories that just make more exact copies of the virus. When you get sick and then cough or sneeze or wipe your nose and then touch a surface, you're putting copies of this virus out to find other hosts and just repeat the process. And so here's what the kids' hands look like after washing their hands.
Uh-oh, look at the backs. Let me see your fingernails. Oh, look at all those germs. Oh, your thumb.
Oh, my hand.
Oh, look at your wrist. Look at your wrist.
We all sort of have a habitual way of washing our hands. So once again, I tried this myself using the typical quick way I do it in my muscle memory. Granted, that's better than nothing, but you can see the difference compared to when I was deliberate and took 20 seconds. Which is why it helps to do things like sing the happy birthday song twice, or you could do what I do and follow Brandon Flowers' example.
Jealousy, turning saints in eager eyes, 'cause I'm Mr. Brightside.
And then for a final experiment, I wanted to show how dumb handshaking is, so I infected the first kid with the powder and then had them do a handshake chain down the line. The fifth person here still had significant traces on their hand, so I put him at the first and lined 4 more kids up after him, and 3 of their hands glowed. So we got trace germs from the original person all the way down 8 handshakes later. So if you ever meet me in real life, please don't be offended if in lieu of a handshake, I offer you a fist bump and a selfie. In conclusion, what does this all mean with regards to the coronavirus COVID-19? You should be concerned and take this seriously, but regardless of what you see in the coming weeks, there's absolutely no need to panic. As I'm sure you've heard a bunch by now, our goal is to flatten the curve so that reported cases stay just under the capacity of the healthcare system. And social distancing is the best knob that we can turn to affect that. The reason this helps should hopefully make more sense after watching this video, especially for those who have been doubting the science and feeling like this is an extreme reaction. And my take here is I'm a practical optimist. The upside is while this virus is bad, it could be way worse. And this gives us a chance as a global community to get some systems and methods in place to handle something potentially even more drastic in the future. Also, maybe it will lead to changing some social norms, like replacing handshakes with fist bumps, or when people are really sick, thinking it's okay to mingle about and go to work. Globally, the normal flu kills anywhere from 1/4 to 500,000 people a year, due in large part to people not practicing good germ hygiene. So if this experience makes people more socially aware of the right precautions to take when they get sick, that will save countless lives for years to come, long after this coronavirus is old news. And make no mistake, this is going to be rough for some more than others, but history has shown that us humans are pretty resilient. These types of things can bring out the worst in us, but they can also bring out the best, most wholesome parts of us, like these Italians practicing their social distancing with an impromptu balcony concert. How we feel about the situation is largely dependent on just which part we choose to focus on. For me, that means being grateful to the heroes in our healthcare system, or the school lunch ladies still providing free lunch for kids who depend on them, or the scientists all over the world who are working tirelessly 7 days a week to create better testing methods and a vaccine. This is going to be a bumpy ride for us, but the economy will eventually bounce back, as it always does, and we'll be better off as a global community for having gone through this. Again, take this seriously, but there's absolutely no need to panic. We totally got this. While I just so happened to be filming at their school, the principal came over the PA to make an announcement.
Because of this virus, we are going to be closing school for 3 weeks.
That kid at the end is just an opportunist. In fact, a common thread you'll see with successful people is they treat their trials and challenges as opportunities for growth. And while these are difficult times, now that our schedules have been totally cleared, we have potentially a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to invest in ourselves. And there's no better way to do this than by joining the online learning community at Skillshare, who also happen to be supporting this video. If you don't know, Skillshare offers easy-to-follow premium classes with no ads taught by the experts. And they range from learning CAD, like I use for my builds, to baking 101, to graphic design, to learning to paint with watercolor. They have a simple, user-friendly class for pretty much anything you've ever wanted to learn. I'm currently taking a class on interior design from Emily Henderson for a cool shop I'm building. And you should feel confident joining up for Skillshare yourself, because people who have used my link to sign up from previous videos have already watched over 8,000 hours of class. Plus, the first 500 people to use the link in the video description get a free 2-month trial. And given the current situation, Skillshare will donate a portion of the proceeds from every new trial to the nonprofit No Kid Hungry. And this is especially critical right now for kids from food insecure homes who won't be getting school lunches. So basically everybody wins here. Once again, use the link in the video description to get your 2 months free from Skillshare, and then go have fun learning and making yourself a better human in the process. Thanks for watching.